As you're about to be able to tell, I'm no expert at working with concrete, and this is not meant to be a how-to video. I'm just a guy trying to solve a problem. Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and in the next couple of days, we're going to be standing a Quonset hut on this concrete that you see in front of me, but it's not quite ready. We have to bolt down a track here, and it has a drip rail on the track. That track needs to set on this surface here, and the drip rail needs to hang over, but in some places, this ridge is up too high. So I have a 120 foot of block wall that I've got to knock a concrete ridge off of. In some places, it's 0 actually, and in some places, there's almost 2 inches of this concrete that needs removed, and I'd like to remove it cleanly if I can. So I have a hammer drill here, a grinder with a concrete grinding wheel on it, a grinder with a concrete cutoff wheel on it, a circular saw with a concrete cutoff, and hammers and chisels. So we're gonna try it a few different ways, and it may be that different ways work better in different situations. So the first area I want to start with is right here, and this ridge is not particularly high, so it seems like cutting through it with a cutoff wheel isn't the best option. So on this, I think the first thing I'm going to try is the grinding wheel. Whichever ones of these products work the best, I'll put links in the description where you can get the same tools I'm using. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to start with the most basic thing first. So I'm going to try chipping this off with a handheld chisel and a 3-pound hammer. Probably most of you watching have chipped concrete with the chisel and hammer before and have a good feel for that. Now we're going to try the electric version of that. Should do the same thing with a little bit less effort from me. All right, that was fairly easy. It didn't exactly leave a smooth finish, but for this, I don't really need a smooth finish. I think I'll find a similarly raised area and try the grinder on that. There's some parts of this that are just wavy on the new pour that need the high spots ground off. But for now, let's just worry about this back ridge. This thing cut better than I expected it to, that's for sure. But this is a $50 grinding wheel from Rigid, I believe. And I've already removed a bunch of material off of the grinding wheel. I will say one of the guys who helped me put this down tested this out one day already, so that wasn't the first use on it. But this expensive wheel is gonna wear out, I think, long before the bit in that hammer wears out. Even though this worked well, it would be a lot slower for what I'm doing. It gives you more control, it's more precise, it's a finer finish, but it's slow compared to the hammer. I think, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and try the cutoff wheel in a grinder on this right here. Once again, I was surprised by how easily that cut through that concrete. Just like butter. So, if I wanted to cut some slits in this, or like make a straight track, you know, to lay a piece of metal in or something, this would do that job really well. But we're gonna find out today. But I'm a little concerned about durability and how long this would last. So I think I'm gonna use it on the taller areas and see if I can cut through one side and then bust it off. We'll just keep experimenting as we go. For the rest of this area here, I'm gonna clean it up with that hammer drill. We're making pretty quick progress down this, but there'll be a lot of work left after I go down it like this, because the next step will be trying to level across here. And that's where, as I look right here, I can see a high spot right here or a low spot right here. I don't know which. So I'm gonna have to take a level across it, and I guarantee the jackhammer might be the best for this, but it's not the best for that. This grinding wheel is gonna be the way to remove this. I'm gonna try that circular saw on its side, cutting this real quick, but I think it's gonna be the exact same result as this in a less easy to hold fashion. That was exactly what I was expecting it to be. It was cutting this pretty easily because it's a similar blade to the one I had on the grinder, but it's in a more awkward to handle position, and I wasn't going to be able to get a level cut. If I need to cut straight down it, I've already done that as a test with this. It'll cut a groove in this really well, but it's not going to work for this. I really didn't feel all that safe holding that one. So I think we've done a little bit of a test on everything. And before I just go through and finish all this, I want to try that grinding wheel at what I mainly bought it for, which is knocking these high spots off. If you're new to the channel or you haven't been following along with the project of putting up this Quonset hut, you might be wondering, how did he end up with this mess with a ridge that's got to come off and some waves in the concrete? And the answer is I was trying to save $10,000 on having a footing and a stem wall poured. And I think what I did worked, and I think it was a good idea, and I'd do it again. But it resulted in kind of a mess on the top of this. If you want the full story, or you want to see how we got here and how this was poured, all those videos are on the channel, and I'll link to them at the end. Also, if you're new here, think about subscribing. I'm out here every day doing something that you can at least say is interesting. So, I've got this long level across here, and just seeing the high spots, I'm going to try to knock those down. And then I'm also going to take the smaller torpedo level, try to make sure we're level front to back. These two spots are pretty good front to back, but this level's touching in 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to try to knock those 3 spots down. See what we got? That's still a high spot, but the gap under it is smaller than it was. This is going to be a lot of grinding. But, like I said a minute ago, this is all in the effort to save a lot of money. And this top could have been done better, but we'd never done anything like this before, and it was a different kind of product, not just regular concrete. And I'm still glad we went the way we did. I was grinding away on this and remembered that I used to cut tile, and we always cut it wet. And so I did a little Google search. You can grind wet or dry. There's pros and cons. The number one reason to wet the concrete is so your grinding wheels last longer. It helps keep the wheel from getting as hot, and like I said, that makes it last longer. Oh, whenever I Google pros and cons of wetting the concrete before you grind it, one of the cons is you're making a slurry by throwing off concrete powder and then mixing it with water, and that's messy. So depending on where you're at, you may or may not want to do that, but I don't mind a little mess out here. We're still not touching right here, but there's also a high spot on this side, so I think I'll take this high spot down to match that one. And as you can see, it's gonna take me the rest of the day to work down this. I'm gonna go through and do the majority of this, and when I find something interesting, I'll jump back in and tell you about it. First thing I can tell you I've learned is guys who run jackhammers are a lot tougher than me. Since the last time I had the camera on, I've hammered out another 10 foot of this little ridge with this little battery powered. I mean, it's a good DEWALT tool, but it's nothing like a big jackhammer. And my arm's already about vibrated to death. I'm having to switch from left to right, back and forth to keep going. So I guess I need to toughen up a little bit. If you're worried about where you can see the spray foam and the voids around that, I still have a plan for how I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. So I'm almost finished with one side of this, which means actually I'm almost halfway finished. And this has to get finished tonight, but I'm going to wrap the video up because I just got a phone call from a friend who's put up a few buildings before, and he's recommending this mastic tape to put in between the seams. And there's one place in the area that I know of that has it, and they close in an hour. It's about 30 minutes away. So I'm gonna have to hustle it over there, and I'll probably be finishing up this in the dark. But tomorrow, in tomorrow's video, you should see me bolting down the rail to this, and hopefully we get it up this weekend. There's a chance that I'll break from my normal routine of posting every day because I'm supposed to have a new granddaughter born tomorrow morning. That'll be our 5th grandchild, 4 granddaughters and 1 grandson. So that's always a fun time. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. You should see more of our videos right here, and I'll see you next time.